Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about the overcrowded healthcare marketplace, and my God, especially in the field of mental health and therapy, right? I mean, as we discuss this, I want us to think with an open mind here about what we're dealing with, because there's so many people today getting into this healthcare marketplace, and the mental health scape feels like it's an absolute free-for-all with providers and people seeking health care. And there's more therapists than ever before in the marketplace. I mean, people with master's degrees and different things, out there right now. And it's easier than ever before to become a therapist. If you want to become a therapist, there's a lot of people out there who want to become a therapist. I mean, you get a master's degree, you get a license, you go online to a platform, you sign up, boom, you're a therapist. You're seeing clients in a couple of days. You go to these places like BetterHelp, TalkSpace, all these different places. There's tons of them. And within days, you're legally seeing clients, right? And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not arguing that that's a terrible thing, because access is really incredibly important when it comes to mental health care. It's an absolute important thing. But I think that we need to stop and ask ourselves, what kind of therapy, what kind of goddamn therapy are we really getting here out of this system that's a digital marketplace? It's a legitimate question. What kind of therapy are we actually getting here? So let me give you a little personal narrative, a personal story from my own life. A while back, I went to see a therapist. I had to go see an online therapist. Luckily, thank God, I got a good one. I got a good one. Now, I'll be honest, I'm a real hard-headed bastard sometimes. I can be very difficult to get along with. Sometimes I'm not the most agreeable person in the world, and I don't need someone to pat me on the head and tell me that everything's going to be all right. And everything that I say is all right, because it's not. Some of the things that go through my head are quite disturbing if you're a therapist, right? I can handle someone that's going to push me back. I can handle that. It doesn't bother me one bit. And that's what I found with my therapist that I was dealing with personally, the one that I was working with. Her name was Megan. She wasn't totally agreeable with me. Not at all. I mean, she could be very difficult and very hard-headed, and thank God for that, right? She was very tough. She challenged me. She forced me to think outside the box, to see things that I didn't want to see, to deal with things that I didn't want to deal with. And it worked. I grew throughout this therapy, right? Because she wasn't just playing me lip service, telling me what she thought that I wanted to hear, right? Now, I picked up some coping skills, and I didn't even know that I needed these coping skills. I'm pretty good with this stuff, and I didn't even know that I needed some of these coping skills that Megan had to offer. I owe her a real debt of gratitude for what she did for me by teaching me these things and helping me see things in a very different light. Because like I say, I can be a real hard-headed bastard, as some of you people know, But Megan left for private practice in Alabama, okay? And good for her. Seriously, good for her. If there's a therapist in this world that deserves all the best, it's Megan, really. And suddenly, though, when she left for this private practice in Alabama, I was kind of left bouncing around between therapists. And oh my God, I got all kinds of idiots. I mean, all kinds of idiots. I mean, what I ran into in the therapy space was some real weird people. Some real strange birds. I mean, I had one who was basically a religious propagandist who every single session I went to with him, it was like, brother, out of the book of Isaiah, it saith this, saith the Lord. And the Lord say when you dealing with this problem, I suggesteth that thou shalt turneth to the book of Proverbs. It was a real crock of shit. And another one was a left-wing ragdoll, who was focused more on trying to convince me that that gender and identity politics was healthy for society. I don't want to hear this bullshit. That's not what I'm trying to deal with. I don't need you to change my political philosophy, right? I mean, so you see, I ran into this real right-wing nut, and then I ran into this real left-wing nut, and they were just kind of nodding along the way. Like, at the end of it, it was like, so, can I see you again next week, brother? Can I see you again next week when I'm identifying as a bird? You know, kind of bullshit. A couple of them just made it seem like they were just clearly trying to keep you around for a paycheck, you know, to collect the $80 an hour or whatever it is, and keep the subscription active. It was a vicious cycle, and I finally gave up. I finally absolutely gave up. Because the mental health and the therapy workspace here, my God, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. Now, luckily, Megan had equipped me with enough skills and enough ideology that I was trying to work through in my brain, you know, to deal with some of this stuff, that I've been doing pretty okay on my own, you know, and I still use some of these things like headspace, you know, practice mindfulness, different things like this. But that whole experience made me realize just how broken the therapy and mental health scape is, because everybody needs you to pay a goddamn subscription. So here's the issue. This is the systematic problem that we're looking here. The systemic problem that I think, as we write these systemic reviews and we look at this stuff, there's a real issue. These platforms they're not built for therapy. They're built for retention. Okay? That's what they're built for. They don't reward therapists for actually helping people graduate from therapy and move on with their lives. They do not do this. That's not what these platforms do. And I think if you're a consumer, you need to be well aware of this. These platforms are all very manipulative, and these providers, a lot of them are very manipulative to get you to stay engaged with these platforms. These platforms reward providers by higher rankings for keeping people engaged. They do. The longer you keep somebody subscribed, or the longer you keep somebody taking, sessions with you or whatever, the higher they rank you. You know, I mean, you're God Almighty to these people. And that shapes the whole interaction, the whole process, right? Therapists end up playing this role of the agreeable validator, because if they challenge someone too much, the person just quits coming to therapy. They quit doing it. Nobody likes to be challenged. Nobody likes to be told, you're wrong. That's the truth. And so then the person might cancel. And then if they cancel, the therapist gets dinged by the platform. This happens. I know how this works because for a long time I was a tutor on the popular English platform, Preply. It's very popular, extremely popular. I was very, very good at this. Really, I was very good at this. I would make a good amount of money with this. Same thing. If a student left, you got demoted. It didn't matter the reason why. You got demoted. Maybe they took their TOEFL and they passed their TOEFL with enough points they needed, and they got into the college or university program that they wanted to get into. Boom. Preply didn't care. Ding him. It's all about keeping these people engaged. My God, man. You got penalized. 1 month, you could be what they called a super tutor. Next month, you could be at the bottom of the pile because you had 3 students graduate out of the program. It's a real race to the goddamn bottom. It really is. So I think you need to ask yourself, are these platforms, especially in the therapy and the mental health space, are they really giving us real therapy, or are they just giving us endless validation in exchange for a monthly fee? This is something we really need to ask ourselves. But now we've talked about this negativity, we got to talk about what we can do about it, right? We got to talk about, we brought up the problem. We can't just sit here and complain about it. We got to figure out what to do about it, right? I think this is the point where we start thinking about solutions. So let's dive into some of these solutions. What do we do about this? I think first off, we need to change the way that we measure success. We need to change the way that we're using the definition of success, because right now, success is how many clients are still paying. How many clients are still paying? What instead if we measured progress? That's an interesting thought, right? Are people actually reaching their goals? Are their symptoms improving? Are people leaving therapy to live stronger, happier, healthier lives than where they started? That's the first thing we can start doing. Second, I think we need to stop punishing therapists for people and service providers who stop doing therapy, basically, with their students or with their clients or whatever it is, right? If a client graduates out of this program, if they're doing better, that should be celebrated, not you should have kept them 1 month longer. You should have kept them 1 month longer. What could you have done to get them 1 month longer? All right, you're going to go into platform jail for 30 days. You're going to have to redeem yourself from this. That's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. We need to stop punishing these therapists for ending therapy. We do. Now, quality control. This is an industry where quality control really suffers a lot. A whole lot. It shouldn't just be anyone with a license gets on a platform and starts seeing people and do whatever. I mean, that's the most ludicrous bullshit way of therapy I've ever heard. I think there should be very tough mandates with this. Things like peer review. How many of these things are actually doing peer review? Why not do it? Why not have them meet internal training requirements or maybe even outcome tracking? You know? Why aren't we just looking at the subscription? Enough with these subscriptions already. People are tired of this bullshit. I think there's one more thing that we can look at in terms of interventions here when it comes to these things. And that's clients themselves need to know what good therapy is. They need to be trained in to know what good therapy looks like. Good therapy is not just going to an agreeable son of a bitch to tell you, oh, you're right. You're right. Absolutely, you're right. You are 100% correct. You know, but you're right, but maybe you should think of it like this too. But overall, I think you're right. That's not goddamn therapy. That's going to a damn agreeable friend who doesn't want to tell you what's really wrong, right? That's not a good thing at all. Therapy is someone who challenges you. A good therapist is not an agreeable personality. They're kind of like an attorney. If you're an attorney, and you're an agreeable person, you're probably in the wrong field. Oh man, attorneys need to be some of the most disagreeable personalities in the world. I think therapists should be too. Because here's the deal. Disagreeable therapists challenge people. Disagreeable therapists challenge systems. They challenge ideals. And they teach you skills. And they move forward. This is one of the things that I have very wrong with a lot of these YouTube therapists and shit that you see. And I like Jordan Peterson. Don't get me wrong. I really like Jordan B. Peterson. But let's face it. He validates the opinions of a group of his audience, right? He's very much like the media personalities. That's not teaching you anything. All it's doing is making him feel validated, and it's making his audience feel even more validated. That's far from therapy. I'm sure he would agree with that. So I think we need to educate clients on what good therapy looks like. Okay, so look. Okay, so now we've hashed out some of these potential problems, some of these real problems, and we've looked at some of the potential solutions, the interventions when it comes to this stuff. And look, I'm not against accessibility. I'm not. It's a good thing when more people can access therapy quicker, right? But if the whole damn system is designed to keep you hooked on it forever and it becomes just another drug, then what good is this system? I mean, we've missed the point of therapy. I'm telling you, I am skeptical of this. I am very, very, very skeptical of this. Therapy should be about growth. It should be about renewal. It should be about learning new coping skills. Therapy should be about all of these things. About working yourself out of a job, in a sense. Look, the smartest thing I heard was from a psychotherapist once that I knew of, and he said something along the lines, there will always be just one more. Don't worry about working yourself out of a job, because there will always be just one more. Now, I was very lucky. I was very lucky that I had someone in my corner like Megan, and God bless her. I hope if she ever sees this thing, I hope she sees it and understands that she made incredible value to my life. My life is better because she was in it for a few months. Really. And I'm lucky to have somebody like Megan in my corner who challenged me and who debated me and who was not agreeable to everything that I said. And she gave me a lot of tools that I still use to this day. I'm thankful every day for her. That's what therapy should look like. That's what therapy should look like. Not this, yeah, brah, you're right, brah. Yeah, oh, you're so right. But I think you should do this. But you're right. Overall, you're right. That shit doesn't get you anywhere. It's not a race to keep you subscribed, to keep you validated. I think it should be a real path to some real goddamn change. And that, my friends, would be an improvement to what we have today. All right, so we've looked at the problem. We've looked at some interventions. I want to know, what are your thoughts? Let's talk about it, okay? Let's talk about it. So you've heard me rant long enough. Thank you very much. What are your thoughts?